Okay, guys, so hopefully you will all be able to see my screen there that I'm sharing with you this evening. So we are going to make a start to this webinar this evening. So, tēnā koutou katoa nā mai hari mai. Ko Liam Willis toko ingoa, no England o Kutipuna. Get to know, okay, Auckland. Welcome, and I am Liam Willis. I'm the Executive Officer of the Gut Cancer Foundation. I'm delighted to welcome you here to our webinar this evening, exploring the importance of gut health. Just before we start, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So to confirm, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send the link out to you all, and to obviously those that aren't able to attend as well. So if you know somebody that had signed up that couldn't come along in the end, we will send the link out. So the format of the evening, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the Gut Cancer Foundation and a little bit about gut cancers, and try to place in context some of the advice that Sean and Simon are going to give you. Then we'll hand over to our partners at Four Wheels of Health, Sean Robertson and Simon Gault, who'll take you through their presentation on why gut health is so important to your everyday life, and really share their passion for healthy living, healthy lifestyles, and why they've founded Four Wheels of Health. And we'll leave time at the end for questions, but you should see, all of you should have access to a question and answer function. Please use the Q&A function to ask any questions you've got throughout the presentation. We will leave time at the end, but we can also answer the relevant questions as they come through. So please do pop them in as you see them, as you see fit. Shortly, I'll introduce our guests, but before then, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the Gut Cancer Foundation. So, as you'll see, for the Gut Cancer Foundation, we are committed to creating a positive change and creating an everlasting impact for all New Zealanders affected by a gut cancer. And you'll see from our mission and vision that we have a variety of purposes here at the Gut Cancer Foundation. We do fund research and vital clinical trials in New Zealand. But really key to tonight is our focus on information, awareness of the signs, symptoms, risk factors, and education on how people in New Zealand can reduce the risk of developing a gut cancer as well. So briefly, what are we talking about here? Well, gut cancers, they're the cancers of the digestive system, including the esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and bowel cancer as well. Now, unfortunately, over 5,400 New Zealanders are diagnosed every year, and they're actually collectively the most common form of cancer in New Zealand, and account for around 25% of all cancer diagnoses in New Zealand. Overall, unfortunately, 50% of those diagnosed will pass away within 5 years of the diagnosis, and that does vary and actually goes down as low as 12% for some of the cancers like pancreatic cancer as well. So we're doing some really important work here that is absolutely vital, and really our supporters are vital to making this happen. We are committed to funding new research for better treatments and outcomes of gut cancer patients, but we would far rather that people didn't become gut cancer patients in the first place. Now, there is some empirical evidence which would suggest that a healthy lifestyle does reduce the risk of developing gut cancers. That's not always the case. People will get cancer, and we have to deal with it. We have to fund the research to deal with the treatments, but we can hopefully reduce the risk of them as well. The reality is no country can afford to treat their way out of a cancer crisis, so we would far rather prevent cancers occurring in the first place where possible. So what are we talking about in terms of gut cancer prevention? Well, there has been extensive research conducting into just how preventable some cancers are. Te Aho o Te Kahu, our New Zealand Cancer Control Agency, produced a report which cited the American Cancer Society and suggests that around 30 to 50% of cancers are preventable. And by preventable, we're talking about actually being modifiable risk factors, which do encompass the list here. When we're talking about gut cancers in particular, we know that actually the preventability of some of these cancers can be as high as 50%. There are specific risk factors associated with cancers of the digestive system, and they are smoking, excessive alcohol consumption. And then we look at diet, which is high in animal fat, containing high amounts of cured salt, and we know that obesity can increase the risk of developing this group of cancers. So in New Zealand, obesity is actually one of the biggest concerns that we see at the moment. And we know that around 15 to 20% of all cancers are related to excessive body weight, physical activity, alcohol consumption, and poor nutrition. And we can see from this chart that 6 of the 12 cancers that are impacted by excess body weight actually are cancers of the digestive system. So it's a big issue. Gut health, healthy lifestyle, healthy diet is a really key part of prevention. And what we know can reduce the risks of developing these cancers. Obviously, quit smoking, being physically active, eating a diet high in fruits and vegetables, limiting your intake of alcohol, and maintaining your body weight. But we know that this is not easy. These are big picture. They're often scary statistics. And the advice on how to reduce risk, I understand, can feel unrealistic and unobtainable to people. And this is why we want to bring this seminar to you. And so the aim of today is for our partners at Four Wheels of Health to talk you through the practical advice on how you can improve your gut health and the benefits it has on a day-to-day basis, all of which we know will help reduce your risk of developing a gut cancer. So we're delighted today to be joined by Simon Gault and Sean Robertson from Four Wheels of Health, which is a science-based 4-week health education course. Sean is a metabolic nutritionist. He's an epigenetic coach, personal trainer, and a health guru. He was inspired by his experiences in the health field to bring about positive change for those who seek it. He's on a mission to improve the well-being of New Zealand. Simon needs no introduction. He's one of the leading lights in the New Zealand culinary scene, a chef and a restaurateur that's worked both in New Zealand and internationally, and a vast array of establishments. He's been inspired to help Sean with creation of Four Wheels of Health, and after embarking on his own health journey recently. So look, without further ado, I am going to hand over to Simon, I think, who's going to introduce gut health and talk about why he's passionate about it. And then we'll go over to Sean for some real practical tips. So Simon, over to you.
Thanks, Liam. Before I get into it, I just want to say what an awesome job the Gut Cancer Foundation are doing. You see those statistics, and they're pretty scary, aren't they? We could all be touched by this horrible cancer. So there are things that we can do to help ourselves. And if we just think for a moment that inside us we have a rainforest, and we've got to look after that rainforest just like we do on our planet. If an airplane flies over and drops a bomb that has napalm on a rainforest, it's probably going to kill a pretty big percentage of things growing in there. And if you do that, the rest of the forest is going to struggle to survive because they all need one another to thrive. So inside us, we've got a rainforest. That's our microbiome. And, you know, if you imagine for a minute, we're made up of 100 cells. We're not, right? We're made up of trillions, but let's just say we're made up of 100. About 90 of them would be our gut bacteria. That's our rainforest. And we don't have an airplane fly over our rainforest and drop a bomb, but we can consume it and eat it and kill off all the good bacteria in our gut by eating highly processed foods with a lot of sugar, too much alcohol, which Liam just mentioned. And we need to really start to think about it. I certainly have over the last 8 years. It's made a massive difference to my life. And studies, scientific studies, have demonstrated links between gut health and the immune system, mood, mental health, skin conditions, and cancer. So gut health can determine not just how healthy you are, but also how you think, how you feel, have I got energy or not, how you act, and how we behave. So, you know, do you have a high stress life? Do you not get enough sleep? Do you eat processed foods? New Zealand is known for having a very high amount of highly processed foods in our diet, along with high sugar foods. Even taking antibiotics can have a real effect on our gut health. And because they can all damage our gut, our microbiome, our gut microbiome, we've got to really start to think how we could take care of it. It's thought that, you know, food intolerances may actually be caused by poor quality of bacteria in the gut. And there's, over the last 40 years, that's when our nation has become obese. And that's when the quality of food that we're eating is highly processed. And that is going to have an effect. If you've experienced bloating, gas, diarrhea, a little too more regular than you thought, abdominal pain, even nausea, not getting enough sleep, they can all have serious impacts on your gut health, which can in turn then contribute to more sleep issues, getting less sleep issues. We know that if we're getting less than 7 hours sleep a night, that is very bad for us in the long term. And when you ask most New Zealanders, a lot of them say they're not getting that 7 hours sleep. We don't want dementia and Alzheimer's and all those things, right? Skin conditions like eczema can just disappear when gut health is brought under control. We have seen that numerous times on the 4 wheels of health, where we get to actually improve their gut health so much that they start to get more energy, they get better sleep. A diet of highly processed foods with added sugars can decrease the amount of good bacteria in your gut. And that causes increased sugar cravings, which can actually damage your gut even further. And then think of stomach disturbances like, you know, gas and bloating and constipation, diarrhea, and even heartburn can all be signs of an unhealthy gut. So what this Gut Cancer Foundation is doing by creating awareness is getting us all to start to think about what we can do to improve our gut health. What should we be? You know, Liam flashed through some things there at the start, but we've really got to start thinking about what can we do to improve our gut health. So the first thing is, we don't want to be eating highly processed foods. Do we understand what highly processed foods are versus minimally processed foods? Chewing your food thoroughly and taking your time to eat. Very simple. You know, when I did a documentary called What We Eat, we asked a whole bunch of people how long they spent for lunch. And it was amazing how many people were having lunch literally in 5 minutes. They're just inhaling the food. And you take time to eat it. And this one will help promote full digestion and absorption of all the nutrients of this rainbow that we should be eating. By drinking plenty of water has been shown to have a real beneficial effect on the lining of the intestines, as well as on the balance of good bacteria in the gut. And Sean will touch on, you know, how much water we should be drinking a day. So reducing the amount of those highly processed foods with added sugar and high fat foods, and reducing the amount of alcohol. We're known for big drinkers in New Zealand. We perhaps consume a little too much sometimes. Looking for foods that are in a brine, salt and water. You know, our great-grandparents would grow things in the garden and preserve things for the next season by using salt and water. So they were naturally getting all these wonderful things going into their gut, and that doesn't happen so much anymore. Anyway, I'm going to stop right there and hand over to Sean. I've been working with Sean for the last nearly 4 years now, where we've been running this 4 Wheels of Health course and changing people's lives, getting them better sleep, better energy, losing weight, improved gut health. This guy is a guru. He's young. I've been around the world when I did Why Are We Fat, the documentary, How We Eat, met all these clever doctors and scientists. This guy's a genius. So buckle up and listen to what he's got to say. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Simon. That's quite the introduction. So as you can see from what Simon said, it can almost seem a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of different aspects of health and gut health, right? We're a system of systems, and it's very, very complex. So what we want to do here today in this presentation is I've got a bunch of slides that I'll be running through. They're not walls of text. They're just easy to follow and just talking points. And feel free to make notes along the way, and I'll be explaining through each slide. So what we want to do is give an overview of gut health, what contributes to it, what you can do about it, what signs you should look for perhaps an unhealthy gut without having to go and get really expensive tests done. And then hopefully by the end of it, you feel a bit more confident in, one, being motivated to take care of your gut health for preventing cancer, but also for actually feeling better mentally, physically, and just showing a bit of love to your bacteria and therefore your body. So I'll go ahead, Liam and Simon, and do the old screen share. Here we are. All right, so can you just confirm that you can see the slides here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Rightio. So it's all about, I love to say this, love your bacteria and they will love you, because these 100 trillion little workers that we have inside of us, they spend every waking moment, not just surviving inside of you, you're the host, but it's a symbiotic relationship. The better they do, the better you do, because they produce things for you like little workers. And in the same way, it's your responsibility to keep them healthy and feed them well. So it's almost like you're the mayor of your own little city, and you got to keep the people happy, or else, you know, you get riots and societal unrest inside of you, and that does not end up boding well for your own health and your own mental well-being. So we're going to go through the science of gut health, the implications of it, just a few very, very simple dietary recommendations, because nutrition can be super complex, but it's quite easy to make some simple, very effective recommendations. I'm a very, very big fan of efficiency, and doing the 20% that gets you 80% of the results, because more often than not, that is generally how things work in nature. It's a few small effective things that get you the best results. So that's what we're going to be looking for today. Also, just in respect of your time for the evening, how to assess yourself, where you sit, and then a brief overview of what you can do about it short term, just for a metabolic reset is what we call. So pushing the reset button on your gut and your overall metabolism. Right, so bacteria, they do a lot of different jobs, arguably more than even the liver. So the liver has approximately 500, 600 jobs. Your bacteria have far, far more. A lot of your nutrients are made in there just through converting what you eat into other nutrients that serve you. Your bacteria do that. They help you to regulate your mood hormones. It's also where the largest part of your immune system is, which is one of the main reasons why, if your gut health is in poor condition, then your immune system's in poor condition, and that means that the first line of defense against cancer, your own natural immune system, is compromised. So if you keep your gut health in check, then your immune system is always very strong. And you can often tell when your gut health is at its best, because you either don't get sick very often, or when you do, you recover very fast. It's a very good telltale sign. Now it contributes to literally every part of the body. So your bone density and bone mass, your fitness even, and your actual muscle mass and muscle strength, endurance, so even physical performance as well. The production of vitamins and minerals, so micronutrients for the body, and even the cleanup in the body. So what that means is getting rid of any lazy or dead cells, and that just improves the efficiency. So going from what you could call like a boggy metabolism, it's weighed down by or a bit slower than it should be because it hasn't had time to clean up. Your gut health is directly responsible for helping you to speed that up. So oftentimes I'll hear it again and again as a nutritionist that people feel like their metabolism is too slow, it's not working how it should, or at least how it didn't 10, 20 years ago. And that's often just an accumulation of what you could call metabolic waste just build up over time. And if you address your gut health, it tends to reverse that quite nicely. So there's a lot of jobs that your microbiome is responsible for, which is that rainforest that Simon was talking about that is inside of you, full of diversity, full of a lot of different applications. And if we take care of it, then our own health tends to nestle into a good state actually quite quickly. So this is in fact probably the most important point or overview that you can take away from this entire presentation, is just these 4 points here, because they create such a resonance in why you should be taking care of your gut, because it has a direct impact on how you feel and how you behave as well. So you've got these good and bad bacteria in your gut, and they are constantly fighting for territory, real estate, gut lining. That's what they're fighting over. And the more of it they control, the more of a say they have in your behavior. So the good bacteria generally eat a lot of fiber, antioxidants, and generally natural compounds, and they will produce for you micronutrients, serotonin, which is your happy hormone, and a lot of what we call bioactive factors that help you to digest more efficiently, repair your gut lining, or repair the rest of your tissues around your body. So it's all very, very good. The bad bacteria, however, generally feed on trans fats, sugars, and a few other compounds that generally aren't very healthy for you. So unhealthy foods contribute to the bad bacteria growth. And they also produce chemicals called cytokines, which cause depression. So this war between the two is dependent on you and which side you choose to fuel. Now, all of these bacteria have an influence on your brain and your behavior, because the second biggest brain in the body is in the gut. And if they influence that brain talks to this one. So your food choices and food cravings are largely reliant on which bacteria you have inside of you. And again, that depends on which side you choose to fuel. So they essentially mind control you in a certain way, which is kind of scary to think about, but it's really good to know, because it means just knowing that you have the power to choose which side you want to be influenced by, because you're going to be influenced by one or the other, but it's probably better to be influenced by the good bacteria. And this obviously has huge implications for your mental health. And these are just some of the bacteria that are living inside of you. There are literally thousands. These are just some of the more common ones on the good and bad side. You may even recognize some of these names like Campylobacter. If anyone's had that before, it's not very fun. And then you'll see like the bifidobacteria is often what you'll see in probiotic yogurt or sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that. Now, as I said, the good bacteria, I've just got listed here if you wanted to make some notes. These are what you want to help thrive. The bad bacteria you want to inhibit. Now, I mentioned these cytokines that the bad bacteria produce. So this is a depressive chemical, and this is where it links into your mental health. So the good bacteria produce serotonin, which is your happy hormone. The cytokines, they inhibit serotonin, which means you are chemically depressed. And this is why a lot of the time, if you're feeling blue, you're just not feeling great consistently, it's probably not, there are exceptions, but it's probably not just issues that are going on in your personal life. It's more likely that the reason you feel blue or down is because you are being chemically depressed, or your happiness is being inhibited on a chemical level because of these bad bacteria. And as soon as you start to starve off or deplete the bad bacteria and allow the good ones to grow, your mood improves. And then you become that annoyingly happy friend that everyone knows. And you're almost always in a good mood, and even you don't know why. Well, now you know why. This is it. If you know that person that is always in a great mood, good chance is that they eat a lot of vegetables and they probably steer clear of a lot of sugars, just as a general statement. All right, so there's just the link between the brain and the gut. What's interesting is that the neurons, so the brain cells between this brain, the head brain, and the gut brain, they have about 90% of the communication that's only one way, from the gut to the brain. And what this means is that 90% of the communication between the two biggest brains in the body is your gut brain telling your head brain what to do and what to feel. So it kind of raises the question of, which brain has more power in this situation? And this is exactly why your bacteria manipulate this communication system. Your bacteria obviously have food preferences. All of your good bacteria have different fibers and antioxidants that they prefer. And likewise, the bad bacteria, they have their own preferences. And because it's mainly sugar and trans fats, let me raise you this question. If you have a majority of bacteria in the gut that are bad and crave sugars and crave trans fats, what do you think they are going to manipulate? What signals are they going to send to your gut brain, which then leads up to the brain in your head? What signals are they going to send there? What foods are they going to make you crave? It's going to be the foods that they want to eat, right? It's going to be sugars and trans fats. It's going to be junk food. It's going to be food that is not good for you, but is good for them. These bad bacteria, I say they're bad, but they're just trying to survive, right? They're just trying to exist like every other creature on Earth. Unfortunately, it just ends up being detrimental to your health. Now, conversely, the good bacteria, because they crave fiber, antioxidants, natural compounds, if those are in the majority, then the loudest signal for food cravings is going to be what they want, which is vegetables, fruit. It's going to be antioxidants. So lots of colorful plants essentially is what you're going to end up craving. I know it may even sound completely foreign to, be craving a bag of spinach. But if your gut bacteria really gets to the point of being that healthy, you do end up looking at a salad, much like you would look at, take your favorite junk food. It could be a nice steak pie, or it could be cake, or it could be cookies. Whatever it is, you end up looking at a salad the same way and having no feeling for these sugary foods. You actually don't want it. Why? Because your cravings are dependent on your bacteria. So it's hugely important to get your gut health right, even just for this, because obviously your health overall for your entire body is going to be better if your cravings for your foods are more aligned, and if your mental health is better because of the serotonin that I talked about. because about 90% of your serotonin, your happy hormone, is made in your gut. So here it is. More good bacteria, more serotonin, you feel good. Or bad bacteria, more cytokines, you feel depressed. And simply by addressing this one thing, you can actually significantly improve your mental health. Far more so. And actually, Simon, you mentioned a study that you found was interesting where they used nutritionist and a psychologist. Is that right? For different.
Yeah, it was a study in Australia where they had 7,000 people who were suffering from depression, and they split the 7,000 people into two groups and put one half with a nutritionist specializing in let's get our gut health right, and the other one was for a psychologist. And the biggest improving group was by far the people that started to focus on what they were putting into them. So they had less cytokines and more serotonin came out. And if you look at people that are depressed and then you look at their diet, it's amazing how many you find of they have a high diet of bread, generally white bread, which has no fiber, no nutrition. And then you start looking at, what they consume to drink. It's generally a lot of high energy drinks because they think this is going to make them feel better, but it doesn't. It exacerbates the problem. So the study concluded that, by what we put in our mouths has a massive effect on how we feel and our mood and whether we're depressed or not.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this is if we just link it back to just general health and even cancer, like obviously it's great to be in a better mood and feel better, right? Because, you have limited time on this earth, you want to enjoy it. Being in a better mood for a high percentage of that time is going to be a net positive, right? But also, we know that people are more likely to develop cancers when they're depressed, because when you're depressed, your immune system actually gets repressed and it doesn't function as well. So by being in a better mood and taking care of your gut health, you actually improve your chances of avoiding cancers as well. It's not cancer is the big baddie boss that we really don't want to come across, but it's not just that, it's all the other factors regarding health as well. Cancer is just obviously one that we really don't want to run into.
Sean, can I jump in for just a moment before you move on?
Yeah, of course.
Insulin resistance and previously being a bad type 2 diabetic due to sort of genetics and also being massively overweight, I was a grumpy bugger. And at the time, you don't realize it, but a lot of people that suffer from type 2 diabetes and perhaps maybe overweight don't realize that, it is kind of a form of depression that you get into, and you become irritable and grumpy, you lose a bunch of weight, your gut health improves by changing your diet, and suddenly you're happier and you're a better guy or girl to be around. It's just incredible, the difference that can come of that. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. That was a personal experience from me. I've discussed it with a lot of people. I was talking with somebody today who's got a dad who's a type 2 diabetic, and she's saying he's not the fun guy he was like to be around. He's just irritable. He looks at the bad and everything. It really does affect you. It's massive.
Absolutely. And I think we often underestimate how much of our thoughts, behavior, and then actions are determined by our biology, by what's going on inside. And, if you get everything in order and you feel good inside, generally overflows into how you interact with, your external environment and other people. So I absolutely agree. And obviously, Simon, you're a living testimony to that. It's actually really funny, Simon, I haven't told you this, but I one time bumped into a guy who used to work for you many, many years ago, far before your weight loss journey. And he said, oh, yeah, Simon was a bit of a grumpy bugger to work with. And I thought it was shocking because the entire time that I've known Simon, he's just always been so positive and such a happy guy. But of course, I met Simon after he had done like a huge health reset. So I think the proof is really in the pudding there. And I'm sure many people, you might have a few people running through your head right now, thinking of how you can relate that to people you know or people.
I'm actually in the middle of writing an autobiography, and you know, there's a big apology I'm putting out to everybody in this book that I know there was a period of time because of it, because of the type 2 diabetes and just having poor gut health and being overweight, I was a grumpy bugger. You know, I didn't know it at the time, but I was.
Yeah. All right. So how do you know if your gut bacteria is in, you know, a poor state of, or a state of disarray? Well, this is, and you can see it right here in front of you. So there's 7 signs that you can, and it doesn't have to be all of them, but these are just 7 very common ways for you to be able to at least guess, oh, perhaps my gut health isn't in the state it should be. So digestive issues, obviously very, very common. So gas and bloating and constipation, that's generally just digestive inefficiency. A lot of your digestion comes from your bacteria helping you to break down the food. And if you can't do that because the bacteria isn't right, your microbiome isn't what it should be, then yeah, you get a lot of gas and bloating. And the example that I bring up often that I think is really funny is I have 2 brothers that I live with, and you know, we're all in our late 20s, but we all love each other so much we can't live without each other. So, but we all have very different lifestyles, and I'm the health nut and they're IT guys, and our diets are very different, as you can imagine. And man, are they a tearfold gassier than I am, and I put it down to gut health, and it's a bit, you know, you can think it's funny, but it really is a telltale sign of digestive inefficiency and reflection on what's going on inside. The other thing is mental issues. We talked about the serotonin and cytokines, and how that affects your mood. So if you just don't feel as good as perhaps other times in your life, then it's probably because at the moment your gut health is not what it used to be. It's not a huge thing to reverse. Like, your gut health can actually turn 180 just in 2 weeks. You know, a bacteria splits every 20 minutes. So the life cycles of bacteria are very short compared to us. Vitamin and mineral deficiencies. This often actually comes from if you've got a lot of bad bacteria and candida, which is a fungus that lives in your gut. They will soak up a lot of that, and then you don't get that nutrients. So that can come through, especially in blood tests. If you've taken a lot of antibiotics, they are obviously that napalm dropping in the rainforest that Simon was talking about. Antibiotics would be classed as the napalm because it just nukes all of the bacteria in your body, good or bad. Unfortunately, the bad usually grow back faster. So it's not so great for that. And then the chronic unmanaged stress, that is a broad term, but generally this is kind of what Simon was talking about being grumpier, being a little more, you know, having a shorter fuse, just being more snappy or irritable. This is how it comes across. And you'll often find that the times in your life where you're just felt the most, you know, just chilled out is probably when your gut health was at its best. Skin problems. Now, this is obviously because your skin is a direct reflection of what is going on the inside, right? It is just an easy way to see, and it's generally linked very strongly to your gut. And you can see this often because normally when people have a lot of gluten and dairy, especially if they're a bit intolerant, that's when a lot of skin conditions come up. I personally can attest to this. If I have a lot of dairy food, then my skin can get quite dry, and it's just not the same quality or doesn't have the same glow as if you're avoiding it, because dairy is obviously not so great for gut health. And then there's the autoimmune diseases that have strong links to gut health as well, mainly because, again, your immune system is at its strongest part around the gut. So if your gut health is poor, then your immune system is generally a lot weaker. So any of these things on the list, if you can relate to even just 3 of them, then you're probably in the category where you might want to do something about sorting out your microbiome. Now, these are all the things that will have an impact on your, the list is actually much longer. These are the major things that will have an impact on your gut health. So this is really, really interesting, because we often think with gut health that it's what you put in your mouth and goes through your digestive system that has the impact. It is not just that. Remember, the bacteria that live inside of you, you are the host, right? So whatever happens to you happens to them. This is why it's not just your diet, it's the pharmaceuticals you have. Those are obviously chemicals that are going through your digestive tract as well, going into your blood, which still goes around the blood in the digestive system. How much sleep you're getting, because your sleep has incredible impacts on all areas. Every single area of your functioning, sleep has an impact on it. And because of that, if your body is poorly slept, it is in poor condition. Your guts will be in poor condition, and then your bacteria suffer because of that. Then exercise, obviously your body is designed to move. It functions better when you even think better when you've been moving a lot. This is why when people have a big issue, you know, they just got to take a walk. Just get some blood flowing. Even just this, if you're very sedentary, that's going to have an impact on bacteria thriving or not. Lots of bacteria do better in a well-exercised body. And it doesn't mean killing yourself 2 hours a day at CrossFit or anything like that. It just means, you know, even just a half an hour brisk walk 3 times a week, that does wonders for your body and your gut health as well. Sunlight, your bacteria don't see it because they're obviously deep within you, but it affects your body, which affects them. There are some bacteria that reproduce better, good bacteria that reproduce better for a body that gets more than half an hour of sunlight every day. Stress, obviously stress hormones increase inflammation, the immune response in the body. So the less stressed you are, then the better your body is going to be to nurture your bacteria. And then pre and probiotics. So this is one of the most effective practical tools you can use to start fixing your gut health. And they're both equally as important. Prebiotics is the food for the bacteria. Probiotics is to put bacteria into the body. So you need to do both. You need to place bacteria in the body, and at the same time, you have to feed them. Now, if you just have one without the other, the effect isn't so great. That's why just taking a probiotic supplement, it's good, it's a good start, but it won't take you very far unless you feed and nurture those bacteria, which is why you need prebiotics. And prebiotics, honestly, is just a fancy way of saying fiber and antioxidants, really, which is just, you know, your plants. You just have to feed them.
Can I jump in there, Sean, for 2 ticks?
Yeah.
I love the analogy that you use when, you know, prebiotics. Imagine if you're growing something in a garden and you come along and you fertilize your garden, everything grows better, right? We know that if we put minerals into our soil and we look after the soil and fertilize it, things thrive. Well, our gut is exactly the same, and that's the prebiotics that Sean is talking about. And, the word fiber comes up, doesn't it? And, we know that, if you can get an extra 10 grams of fiber a day, you can decrease your risk of heart disease by a massive 20% and even increase your life expectancy as well. This is scientific stuff here. And, it's so easy to get that 10 grams of fiber. You can go to the supermarket and in the freezer section, you can buy organic frozen blueberries, not super expensive. And just a small cup of those a day, there's 10 grams of fiber. This is worth doing if you can decrease the risk of heart disease by 20%, right?
Yeah. Hey,
anyway, sorry to interrupt there. You carry on.
No. That's really good. Really good point. So, yeah, it's so true what Simon's saying is the prebiotics, like the fertilizer. If you've got a garden full of weeds and you put fertilizer on it, what's going to grow? Whereas if you've planted a whole bunch of vegetables and you put fertilizer on it, what's going to grow? So you need both. You need the probiotics, the actual plants that you want to grow, and the prebiotics, the fertilizer to feed them. So yeah, great analogy. And you can also get prebiotic supplements. You can get probiotic supplements. The probiotics listed here are generally fermented foods. Fermented is just literally letting bacteria grow, and it's actually it's a more natural way to get these bacteria into your body. And not everyone will like everything on the list. Like not everyone is a fan of kimchi or like pickles, for example. Some people, I don't know why, because I love pickles, but some people really don't like them. But on this list, you can find like several that you like. And then all you need to do is just include them in your diet semi-regularly, even once every 2 days, one thing from this list. It does wonders. Just over time, you are accumulating more and more different types of bacteria. And then by feeding them the prebiotics, they grow and they provide for you. Because remember, they're like your workers. So you need both pre and probiotics. This is a really practical way. And this is the beauty of the age that we live in. If you need more suggestions, obviously I haven't put everything on this one slide. You can just put into Google probiotic foods. Put into Google prebiotic foods, and it will give you very lengthy lists of what you can have to improve your gut. Just having both, and in the same meal, even better. Now, and Simon, feel free to jump in any time here, because I know you're the chef.
I was itching to on your last slide, because I was looking at all those ingredients, and some people won't know what some of those things are, but they think about a healthy diet for your gut. And is it, oh my goodness, is it just all twigs and berries? When we talk diets or, something that's healthy, you think of carrot sticks and celery, and that's all it is. But, those lists there's the rainbow right there. Those tomatoes drizzled with a really good extra virgin olive oil and a little bit of salt on there, just a little bit, but use a good salt, use a mineral salt like a Himalayan or a Murray River or a Maldon salt, just a little bit to set it off, and a good vinegar. And there's a marriage in heaven right there. And, the average Kiwi consumes 8 kilos of tomatoes a year. In the Mediterranean, where they have 1/9 the amount of diabetes, 30% less cancer, 50% less heart disease, they consume 40 kilos a year. Garlic is genius for adding to food. We need to be looking for high nutrient spices and foods. And, you look at the tempeh there. What's tempeh? You can buy it in most supermarkets now. It's generally frozen. It's fermented soybeans, but you can slice it and imagine cooking halloumi cheese, right? Squeaky, we call it squeaky cheese in my house, but you fry it in a good olive oil with some seasoning on the outside, and you use it the same way. You can put it in salads, you can have it with veggies. This is to have a healthy gut, you don't have to have a twigs and berries diet, was my only point. Sorry, Sean, carry on to your next slide. But kimchi, every Korean restaurant will serve that as a little side dish, and it's generally spicy. It's very pungent. It has massive amounts of vitamin C in it. And, it's just like putting a chili sauce on there. But what do we do in New Zealand? We squirt tomato sauce over everything, which is just about 50% white sugar or refined sugar in there, which is terrible for us, right? And, you can use things like kimchi to be really good. Mango lassi is generally pretty sweet for me, but mangoes have been proven to be very good for our gut health when they're in season. Olives can be delicious. They're like adding salt to food, aren't they? Because they're pickled. Well, going back to what I'm saying is like, years ago we had more pickled food, but now it's only things like olives that are pickled, really. Onions are fantastic, and you can do so many things with onions. You can pickle onions, some vinegar, a little bit of water, a touch of salt, put spices in there, put chili in there. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I could see the chef passion flaring up from within.
Sean and Simon, I do have a question that may be pertinent at this point, in terms of cheese specifically. Are there any particular types of cheese that are particularly probiotic, and how much would you recommend for somebody to have?
Cheese generally isn't probiotic. Obviously, some like blue cheese has got fungus in it, but it's not going to contribute to your microbiome. In saying that, cheese generally isn't bad for your gut health. It's more so milk or high sugar yogurt that is the issue. But cheese actually has a lot of the lactose processed out, which is the big thing that is really upsetting to the gut. So because of that, cheeses are actually, I give the thumbs up. The only thing I say about them is that they're very, very dense. It's a lot of energy. So if you have it all the time, then it may, the scales may not thank you for it, because it is also filled with a lot of growth hormones. So if someone wants to, when I was a PT, if someone really wants to put on a lot of weight, or usually muscle, quite fast, one of the things I would say is to have cheese every day, because it's a very good way to put on lots of weight, muscle, if you're working out a lot. But as for gut health, no, it's not going to benefit your gut so much, but it won't be super detrimental either.
Can I add on to that with the cheese just for a moment?
Yeah, go for it.
Those slices of cheese you see wrapped in little plastic sheets. That's not cheese.
No.
When Sean's talking about cheese, that's highly processed and refined cheese, and it's manufactured to last forever. Parmesan cheese from Italy has 2 ingredients: milk and rennet. And they literally mix it together, and then it's formed into a cheese, and then it goes into a big swimming pool that has salt in it, and that's how it takes its salt. Then it's aged. That is real cheese. Those are, and it's a great thing to grate over things because it's a little bit salty. It's got masses of flavor. Goat's cheese, goat's feta are good. Mozzarella is good. And I'm not talking about that mozzarella that could be like a squash ball. I'm talking about mozzarella that you would buy in a brine, and it's white. It's either cow's milk or buffalo milk. So, but goat's cheese is probably a little bit better. So, choose cheese wisely, and it's, it should be kind of a treat, unless you're trying to do what Sean's saying.
Yeah. And here's a fun fact for you all. Cheese is more addictive to the brain chemically than a lot of things like cocaine or cigarettes. Cheese actually, hormonally, what happens in the brain, it's far more addictive, which is crazy to think about. And it should be a treat thing, absolutely. It's one of the great inventions of time. cheese. It's a lovely little addition, but yeah, just don't go overboard with it. And like Simon said, choose quality. Absolutely. You definitely get what you pay for when it comes to that. Now, for nutrition ideas, and like I said, Simon, feel free to jump in here because this really is your area. I've just put some simple options, and these are options that I use as well as a nutritionist to cover my nutritional basis for gut health, so I don't have to think about it too much. So smoothies are really good because you can put in berries, you can put in like maca powder, cacao, a lot of different ingredients, and just mix it all together. It makes it very, very easy. And smoothies are in a liquid form, which means it's super easy for you to absorb it because you don't have to chew, right? It's already, you know, if you chewed something long enough, eventually it would turn to liquid or a paste, right? And hopefully you don't need to do that. But the reason we chew is to increase the surface area, make it easier to digest. A smoothie already has that done for us. So it's very easy nutrients for you to absorb, very little effort. It's a very low strain on your digestive system. So great option to have regularly is smoothies. And like I said, because you can put so many different ingredients in there. I remember at Simon's place, I saw his ingredients shelf for smoothies, and I was overwhelmed. There's camu and lucuma and cacao and all sorts of things to, you know, experiment and put into different smoothies, which was awesome. And by no means do you have to get the full list of, you know, quote unquote superfoods, but you are able to do that, and you can go a little crazy with it. You know, you can put in a lot of nutrition into a smoothie that benefits your gut with very, very little effort.
There's actually a smoothie that we recommended on the 4 Wheels of Health course for people, because my smoothie has like 10 superfoods in it, and it's just crazy to expect people to go and buy it. But there's a company called Super Me who makes smoothies, and it's called Wellness Blend. And I suppose we could be really naughty and give people the code, because you actually get a discount if you're on 4 Wheels of Health. And I think if you put 4 wheels in there, is that right, Sean? You'll get a discount. Right. But it's called Super Me Smoothies Wellness Blend. And it's just great. You know, there's hemp protein, there's all sorts of things in there, probiotics. But Sean, you remember it, we've drunk it plenty of times.
Yeah. It's just a very, very good blend. It's called Super Me. Kiwi guy. We met up with the guy that put it all together. Had just everything in it that you would want in a smoothie blend, which is really cool.
Because often people, you think of smoothies and, you know, thinking carrots, beetroot, and you know, they end up with having a very sweet smoothie. And we've got to try and move away from that. And, you know, this is delicious. The first time you drink it, you might be, ooh, that's interesting. I remember when I did my smoothie for 3 months, which was basically almonds, almond milk, ice, lucuma, maca, reishi mushroom powder, chia seeds, flax seeds, coconut, a couple of other things, and you blend it up. And the difference was amazing. And I went for blood tests in a medical, because I fly airplanes. And I was with this cardiologist who, you know, said, what have you done? All your bloods are just incredible. You know, I don't know, how can they just improve like that? And I said, I've done a bit of yoga, you know, which I hadn't done at all. But, you know, it's amazing how you can change your health so quickly. Like you said, Sean, you know, a couple of weeks of really looking after your gut, and you're going to start to see some difference.
Yeah. It really does not take that long. I think a lot of the time people think of this huge lifestyle change that is going to be a monumental effort before you see results. It's not like that. Your gut actually, it flips so quickly. Like I said, just because bacteria reproduce every 20 minutes. So the turnover rate is so fast that if you make these changes and just stay consistent with them for a couple of weeks, the changes you see throughout your entire body, and you'll feel it, and you'll see it in your mood, are just really, really powerful.
Oh, and I have questions on the smoothie. Are bananas good for a smoothie? Are they good in general? And with
Yeah, I mean,
smoothies, would you suggest full fat or light blue milk? I'm assuming the latter.
I would not suggest milk, cow's milk, but I would suggest almond milk, oat milk, rice milk, coconut milk, or what I actually do is just put water and put in coconut cream. And that makes it, it gives it a really nice creaminess to the smoothie as well. What was the first part of the question?
Bananas. Bananas.
Bananas. Yeah, bananas are fine but if you are looking, if weight loss is something that you're after, then I would use either just half banana or bananas that are more green, because they're not as sugary, they have more fiber, and the prebiotic called inulin inside bananas is far more potent when it's green. So green bananas are far better for gut health. So, and if you were more focused on gut health, then just put, it doesn't have to be, so green it's almost like a rock, but just more green on the skin than yellow would be more ideal. And usually you can tell because the taste of it is not so, dessert-like super sweet, like a really ripe banana. It's got, you can taste the tannins, right? You get that kind of mouthfeel that, you get with not so ripe bananas. That's better for gut health. That's how you know it's right.
And Sean, sorry, one more on.
One banana is the equivalent of, if you imagine, kind of like 3 teaspoons of white sugar. And Sean's point on the green bananas is an excellent one. And if people are looking for something to start their day with and are not so keen on smoothies, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel that just focuses on overnight oats, the right oats to use, different combinations. There's a carrot cake one, there's a pina colada one. Watch those ones last. Watch the one that you think probably is a little healthier on there. They're all super healthy, but I talk about the difference of the oats and the science behind it. So that might be interesting to a couple of people.
Liam, did you have something?
Yeah, sorry, we had one more question on as we're on foods. Where can one find MCT oil in New Zealand? And is there any negative impacts from using MCT or coconut oil?
MCT oil, generally you can find it in almost all health stores, like, Health 2000 and whatnot. But you'll probably get a better deal if you just buy it online. Just put MCT oil New Zealand into Google and there'll be a whole bunch of sites that sell it. You don't really have to worry too much about brand for that, because MCT oil is the same, basically. It'll all be made in the same place, right? It's just different labels. So you don't have to worry about brand too much for MCT oil. Is there any downside? No.
Caution for new players with MCT oil: start off slowly, and I mean slowly by about like 1/4 to 1/2 a teaspoon if you're making a bullet coffee, a little bit, because if you start too harsh, your system's not used to it and you'll be off to the toilet pretty quickly.
Yeah, there is that. Can take it a little bit.
A little heads up for.
Yeah, thank you. I should say the reason that we use MCT oil and coconut oil, the reason it's a recommendation, is mainly because the types of fats that are included in MCT oil and coconut oil, one, they're very short or small chains of fats physically. And what that means is it doesn't require any effort for your body to absorb it. It literally just zips across the membrane in your digestive system. So super light to absorb and digest, but also about 80% of some of the fats in here are used by your gut lining only to make mucin, which is the mucus layer in your gut. And the thicker your mucus layer is in your gut, it's like the barrier between the bacteria and your immune system. So you get far less inflammation, you get far less indigestion, bloating. the healthier that mucin layer is, the easier and smoother your digestion will be. So MCT oil and coconut oil is really good for that. There are a whole bunch of other benefits for your neurological system, but specifically for gut health, that's really effective for this. And also, a lot of your good bacteria can actually feed on these fats to thrive, whereas the bad bacteria, it actually has the opposite effect, and they starve off because of this. They don't do so well with the MCT or coconut oil. So it's a bit of it's like ammunition for improving your gut health, really.
And the calories in them are less likely to be stored as fat, I believe, as well.
Yes,
that's why people
exactly. The fats in those are so small, they actually can't stay inside fat cells. They just slip out. So it's just becomes free floating energy. That's why if you have MCT oil, especially with a coffee, like, man, you can be bouncing off the walls. You're just so alive, and it's just because this huge surge of energy that you have free flowing, and it's just not getting stored as body fat. It's being used at the time, which is very cool.
Guys, sorry, can you just clarify what MCT oil is, please?
That is medium chain triglyceride. You can see why they call it MCT, and medium chain triglyceride doesn't have the same ring to it, but that's what it
can be found in coconut oil. It comes from coconut oil, but you can also get it out of palm kernel oil, I believe, and some dairy products too.
Yeah. There's a few different ways to get it, but overall, it's the same kinds of effects. Now,
good for brain energy.
Yes, very, very, very good. Now, for the rest of these options, so fruit salads, this is, I mean, that obviously goes for, vegetables as well, but just colorful plants in general. Your bacteria, like I said, there's thousands of them living in you. They all like something different. Simon, you will know, if you run a restaurant, you have lots of customers. You are the restaurant, your bacteria are the customers, and they all like something different. So you need to cater to all of them. This is why diversity in your nutrition is important, and why we say eat the rainbow. And I'm not talking about M&Ms, and I'm not talking about Skittles. I'm talking about the huge variety of color that you can get in the plants that you eat. The more colors you have, the colors correspond to different antioxidants and different nutrients, and all your bacteria like essentially different colors. So if you can get the full rainbow every day, then you are catering to a lot of different bacteria, and each one is providing you something beneficial, but you need to be feeding each one as well. So that's why the salads, the fruit salads, the vegetable salads are really, really, really good, and you want to be trying to cover as many of those color bases as you can. I always try to get as many different colors in a salad as I can. Veggie sticks and hummus is a really easy way. Carrots, cucumber, celery, the main ones I'll use, and you can get different. You can get like beetroot hummus as well, so you can add variety there. Very easy. And then vegetable omelets takes 5 minutes. Vegetables in the pan. You can put mushrooms in there, and you put in your eggs, flip it over, done. Lots of protein, lots of great fats, lots of fiber, prebiotics, and it's just a very easy way, especially for breakfast, to be getting that nutrition in, especially for your gut. Now, Simon, I know you did a bit on lunch boxes, essentially, for kids, so you might want to chime in here with just a few ideas, because a lot of the time, like, if you're going to work, you can't cook. So what do you have on the go? What do you have on the fly? I've just got some simple ones here. Nuts and seeds cover a lot of bases. There are a lot of good prebiotics in nuts and seeds, some of the most potent ones, in fact. Flax seeds, walnuts, and hazelnuts are some of the ones that are really, really good. The salad's obviously very easy to put together and take away. Leftovers are your best friend, because if you're going to cook, just cook a bit extra. Put it in a container, take it with you. That is the easiest kind of fast food that you will ever find. That's why I say when you cook, make triple. Or if you've got a a family make quadruple. Any
I've got a
little
lunch.
things that you use, Simon?
Well, I've got a lunch, but I'm just looking at the time, and if I start rabbiting on about lunches now, going to make us really late. But on my YouTube channel, there is a playlist on school lunches, and trust me, they're genius. Doesn't matter what age you are. It might give you a little bit of inspiration. Obviously, you might want the portion a little bit bigger, but you know, given I have an 8-year-old, I've been engaged in ensuring that she has a healthy diet. So there's some inspiration there if you want to head there to my YouTube channel.
Awesome. Hang on, just going through the questions. Alrighty, so, and when you're shopping, I just for respect of your time, because I realize we've rambled on a little bit, but we'll just try and get through the rest of this in good time. So when you're shopping, listen to your body. That's the main takeaway. When you're going through, especially the produce sections, what do you feel a pull towards? You're listening to your bacteria. It takes a bit of practice, but just try and feel. Are you going past tomatoes and feeling a pull towards those? Could it be lettuce or cabbage, or could it be kumara? Like, what are you feeling a pull towards? It's not a craving. It's just a slight desire. And this is your bacteria, because you've had that food before. Your bacteria knows what's in it. And if you're missing some, or some bacteria are missing some of the nutrients they need, or antioxidants they need, they'll be asking for it. So you just need to tune in and listen. And this is just an active exercise for when you're shopping. Listen to what your body or your bacteria are asking for. They will tell you. And it can be very strange. And it's exacerbated when someone is pregnant. So my mum, for example, ate a bag of tomatoes every single day when she was pregnant with me and my other 2 brothers, for whatever reason. And I love tomatoes. So it'd be because there is nutrients in there that her body or her bacteria were asking for during that time. All the signal was far stronger. And you can follow that same kind of methodology when you're shopping. Now, what I would
Sean,
say,
if you're getting pulled towards where all the cakes are, or the frozen department where the ice cream is, or the center aisle where all the sugar is, listen to your body. And if you know it's not right, engage your willpower to go, actually, no, on this shop, I'm not going to take that home for the family to eat. I'm going to go to where I know I should be going, because a lot of people's little voices in their head have the bad gut bacteria singing a higher, louder tune of where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it is a bit of common sense. Like if Simon said, if you didn't pull towards a lot of the sugary things and the processed foods, then what the message you should take from that is, well, if I'm being pulled towards this, I need to fix my gut bacteria, because I know this isn't what I should be attracted to. So there is definitely a lesson in there as well. Now, as a general rule, when you're looking at foods, you want to try and aim for, on average, foods with less than 15% sugars or carbs. And the very easy way to do this, and we say this on our course, is in the per 100 grams column on the back of things. It says per 100 grams, look in the carbohydrates and sugars. If it's less than 15, you can give it a thumbs up as a general rule. The lower, the better. Any more than that, and if you do that consistently, that's where in the field where you probably have too many sugars that you're feeding to the bad bacteria.
I see, Sean, in that bag you had some white bread rolls. If you're going to have bread, go for sourdough. That is much better on your gut. If you're going to choose bread, try and choose a sourdough. One slice of white bread has about 1 gram of fiber if you're lucky. Hardly any nutrition. Most Kiwis live on it for breakfast and things like that. Try and edge towards sourdough. It's a way friendlier deal for your gut health.
Yeah, absolutely. The only time you can really get away with having white bread or foods like that consistently is if you are exercising a lot, because you burn it all off. But if not, then it's definitely better to be far more conscientious about making the healthier choices. And sourdough is actually probiotic some of the time as well, so it's a really good option. This is just a list, and you may want to make smoothies. I'm not sure, Liam, if we're able to get these slides to everyone, for anyone that wants them.
Yeah, we'll be sharing the recording, Sean, so we
Okay.
can send this out to everybody, and we can probably send the slides as well, maybe as well. But either way, we'll have it. Just conscious of time as well, Sean. So probably a couple of minutes, and we'll take questions.
Yeah. We'll wrap things up here. So this is what I call nutritional insurance. These are just things that you can have to cover more nutritional bases, cover more of what you can provide to your gut health with very, very little effort. This is that applying the 20% effort for 80% of the results. These are the things that you want. Herbs and spices, super potent in micronutrients. Green powder mixes, again, like a multivitamin that actually works. Frozen vegetables, nuts, seeds, eggs, they all contain a lot of really good, so very little effort, but providing you with a lot. Now, alcohol, we probably don't have the time to get into this too much, but basically, obviously, it can be fun, but it's not your best friend. And as Liam said, it's a very large contributor to a lot of the different cancers in the body, especially cancers of the gut. So it's not great for weight. It's not great for your brain function. It interferes with your sleep, and it's has a negative impact on your gut health, your microbiome as well. So
if you could switch from white wine to red wine, you'll be doing yourself a lot of favors. Also, if you can't do that and you're going to stick with white, switch to champagne, because that is better for you. Unfortunately, it costs a little bit more. It's a story of our life, isn't it? But there you go.
All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll just wrap up here. So 2-week metabolic reset. I challenge you all to just apply 2 weeks to committing to seeing if you can improve your gut health. If we can get the slides out, there are notes on this, on just some of the recommendations that we can get out to you if you're interested, and just what you can do to follow on in regards to fixing your gut health. Obviously, you can take a lot from the information already, just applying the probiotics, prebiotics, lowering the sugar intake, MCT or coconut oil, the smoothies, all of those things, combine them together. It's a very, very potent recipe for a gut health reset, is what you want to aim for. So it doesn't take long, just 2 weeks. You can it's 2 weeks of your whole life. You can commit to it. See how you feel, even journal. See how you feel at the beginning, make a note of it after the 2 weeks. What is the changes? Do you notice it in your skin? Do you notice it in your attitude? Perhaps in your measurements? But just see how you feel and have that as almost like a self-experiment, because generally the results from that motivate you to keep going further. All right. Liam, as we wrap up, do you have any questions, last questions?
Yeah, I do. So there's a couple that have come through on the Q&A. The first one's around gluten, Sean. So a lot of modern flour is overprocessed. We've touched on white bread in particular. Can you talk more to gluten and gut bacteria and the effect that gluten may be having, given the predominance that we've got of autoimmune diseases, which are endemic in New Zealand at the moment?
Right. So gluten is an interesting one. Gluten is actually, because you ask a lot of people, like, gluten is this, gluten is that. So what is gluten? Almost no one can give you an answer. So gluten is a mix between glutenin and gliadin. They're two different proteins. The reason that some people are better at digesting it than others But as a general rule, the human body does not digest gluten that well, and it serves as an inflammatory in the gut. So some people, to the point where, obviously if you have any gluten, your gut is sore it's ruined your whole day. And it's the reaction that your immune system has to gluten that is the issue. That creates inflammation in the gut. The inflammation will, cause the cell walls in your gut to break down a little bit, which means things can leak out. You don't digest as well. And then the inflammation then you usually see in your skin, because your skin is a reflection of what's happening on the inside. So I avoid gluten almost completely where I can, because I know I don't react to it very well. I can have it, but I know if I have it, I have like a foggy mind. I won't feel as good. Usually I'm in a worse mood, and I'm more irritable. And those are the things I notice about myself when I have it. And people react differently, but generally it's not a net positive for sure. And that's mainly because of your immune system's reaction to gluten. And your inability.
So in their 2-week challenge, Sean, if they actually cut out all gluten for that 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks, you actually introduced a little bit back, and you get a bloating feeling, you know that you have some form of gluten intolerance, maybe just a little bit, maybe a lot, but you might suddenly eat the gluten after that 2 weeks and go, actually, I feel really bloated. And you might go, I probably felt like this for years and didn't notice.
Yeah.
If you stop something, you won't know.
Yeah, and the reason, just to answer the question, why it's now an issue in our modern world, well, it has always been an issue, but back when we were having gluten and we weren't surrounded by so much abundance, our bodies normally had time. We were eating a lot healthier, just cleaner diets in general, but now we're eating a lot more processed, and with the gluten, our bodies don't really get a chance to come back from it. So you see the effects of gluten far more than, because it's in addition to all the other bad stuff that we have, it all adds up. Whereas back in the day when, we were having breads and wheat and whatnot, and there's gluten in there, but the rest of the diet was super clean. So you didn't notice the effects as much. It's all accumulative.
And it's massively processed now. It's so highly processed, the flour. When we filmed how, what we eat, and we were in Greece and Turkey, we went to a slow food city where the whole concept of the whole city is slow food, and they had an ancient grain there. And I had this bread, and it was completely kind of different to what I was used to. It was delicious. And we tested my blood glucose levels afterwards, and the spike was completely different. So that's why I say don't have just a plain slice of white bread, unless you're doing what Sean is saying, where you want massive, you're burning it off. But, that showed me that the flours and things we're getting in New Zealand are so processed. They're so different to what they were years and years ago.
Guys, we are running a short on time, so I just want to try and run through very quickly some of the questions here. So, Sean, have you got any thoughts on Simon on cold press juicing with greens?
I see no downside to it. It's just fabulous, just in general.
Yeah, it's great.
And any advantage to fresh herbs and spices over dried?
Yeah, fresh herbs and spices are going to contain a lot more of the nutrients because they haven't broken down. Same thing as, it's better to have any food fresh than if it's been sitting on the shelf for 2 weeks.
There's a question.
Okay, no, we don't have time. Sorry, I was going to talk about health shots and turmeric shots and ginger shots and things. But anyway, Carol.
So look, there's a question generally about how can you check your gut health? Is there a test? I mean, I will just say to anybody, if you're experiencing any symptoms that you are concerned about, that are new to you, that you're unsure about, then I would always say the first port of call is speak to your GP. Make sure that you have that conversation. Anything that is out of the normal, that you're not used to experiencing, whether it's pains or lumps or changes in your bowel habits in particular, please do go to seek advice from your GP, just to be self-assured. But in general, guys, is there a check for your gut health? Is there a test or anything that people can know about?
Not without, forking out a lot of money, but you can get your bacteria tested. But I would generally just use, we had the 7 different signs on that slide for, to guess whether your gut health is perhaps a bit out of sync with what it should be. And I would just use those. If you can tick 3, or 4 of those, then you probably want to deal to it.
Okay, guys. Well, look, I'm gonna call it there. We have been going for an hour and a half. Thank you so much to everybody attended. Huge thank you to Simon and Sean. It's fascinating, incredibly insightful, and really, really important. I think the impact that these changes can have just on your daily life, on your mental health, on your well-being, I think could be quite profound. And of course, from our perspective, what's really, really interesting is the synergy with how one reduces your risk of developing gut cancers as well. The two are absolutely intertwined. So it's great to see that actually we can do things that have an immediate result, immediate benefit to our health, but are actually really helping us in the long term as well. So really, really grateful to you both for taking the time to do this presentation. Before we sign off, do you want to let the guys know about 4 Wheels of Health and how they can find out more information?
Simon, do you want to?
Oh, am I the sales guy? Well, visit 4wheelsofhealth.com. It's a 4-week course. We run it on Facebook. It's the commitment is the cost of a couple of coffees a day, but time-wise, it's a 20 to 30-minute video. If there are questions, then it can go to 40 minutes. It's done live on Facebook. You can watch it live. You can watch it delayed, but don't even think about going there if you can't afford that 30 or 40 minutes. We get massive change in people. The first week we focus on sleep. Then we get, I'll let Sean talk about the other 3 weeks, but the results we get are amazing. We get people sleeping better. We get them more energy. We get their skin looking better. It changes people's lives. Read on our Instagram or wherever, Facebook and things, what people have to say about it. It works. It's science. It's not a diet. We don't tell you what to eat every day. We don't give you a menu or send you a box. We educate you and we turn you into your own science experiment. And the byproduct is you generally lose a lot of weight. I think on the last course that we've just ran, the average was, there was people that lost around 6 to 7 kilos in the month. There was one person who was, I think, at 16 kilos. So it varies to every person and, how committed you are to make some change. And it's not twigs and berries. And we actually have some fun and, we have meetups when we're not in COVID. And, it's good fun and we have some change. And it's, I think, and as I said, it's cost of a couple of coffees a day for a month. And,
I'll just say to wrap up, we've been doing it for 4 years. I think the coolest thing is what we do is real. It's science-based. And, we try to be your family or friend, throughout the entire thing. So we really try to care for you, and the results that we see can confidently say it's been pretty awesome to see some of the changes made. We've got the next course launching on the 4th of November. If anyone's keen, just head to 4wheelsofhealth.com. But I'll just say thank you, Liam, for your time. I am so sorry that we ran so far over time. I just went through the information, but it looks like a lot of people have stuck through it. So I hope it's been worth it for you guys, and it's been worthwhile this evening.
So 2 things. Thank you again, Sean and Simon. I really appreciate your time and your insight. 2 things I want to say before we sign off. Thank you so much for everybody who stayed with us. The vast majority have. I know it's late. We really appreciate it. One question did come through very much at the end, is whether this can help with cancer recovery. My simple answer to that is that any healthy lifestyle will help with your recovery, but you need to seek advice from your specialist. Always talk to your specialist about your recovery and what works best with that. Secondly, I do just want to draw everybody's attention to our Give It Up for Gut Cancer campaign, which takes place in March of each year. We'll be signing people up from January and February. Simon and Sean are on board and will be on board to give everybody advice. We're encouraging people to give up sugar, alcohol, or the soap for the month of March. Last year, we ran that campaign for the first time. We raised $100,000 for trials and research into gut cancers in New Zealand. This year, we're aiming to double that. You'll be supported through the month with all the information and advice and extra sessions with Sean and Simon. So we will be in touch nearer the time around that. Keep it in mind, March is the month for giving it up for gut cancer. So for now, I wish you all a very good night. Thank you all very much. And thank you again to Sean and Simon for a fantastic session. Bye, everyone.
Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for having us.